and the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. And this is my friend.
I'm Justine Ewald from TMA.
And we have an exciting new video series for you. It's all about manufacturing and what takes place in Illinois.
We are going to meet the people that run these companies. We are going to get on the shop floor and we are going to see what it takes to work for manufacturing.
Manufacturing is a thing in Illinois that more and more people are trying to get involved in. And so we're gonna find out the who, the what, the why, and we're gonna get put to the test and see if we can actually do the jobs that the people inside are doing. Where are we today?
We are in Prairie Grove, Illinois at Alliance Laser Sales and the Laser Development Center. And I'm a little scared. We got some activities today and we're gonna be put to the test like Tony said.
Let's do it. I can't wait to see what they're gonna have us do today.
I hope I beat you. That's my only goal tonight.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Manufacturing Alliance podcast. I guess I should say good afternoon. We are back. I know it's been a couple weeks, but we've had a couple different things going on. And so I'm just asking you to forgive me and just be glad that we're here. We got a new guest today that we're going to get to shortly. But that video that you just saw, that is the trailer for the series that Justine Ewald from the TMA and I are going to be doing. The whole gist of it is this. We are going to tell the stories of what's happening in American manufacturing businesses and specifically in Illinois. We're going to go in and we're going to meet the owners of the company. We're going to meet the leadership of the company. We're going to meet the guys on the floor, the ladies on the floor, the people actually doing the work, building the things, doing the things, manufacturing the things that we use every single day. We want to know the stories. We want you to know the stories. We want you to know that manufacturing is alive and well and a viable option when you're looking for careers. If you're in school and you don't know what you're going to do with the rest of your life, and maybe you don't want to sit behind a computer, and maybe you want to work with your hands, and maybe you just like to build things. Well, there is a space for you in manufacturing. And our goal is to tell that story and show you the reality of it. And the way that we're going to do that is Justine and I are going to be put to different tests and tasks. We are basically going to be employed for a project. We're not going to get paid for it, but we're going to get employed for a project. We're going to try to complete the project with the help from the people that are there giving us the assignments. And then at the end of the day, we are going to see who the better employee is. Is it myself? Is it Justine? What is that going to look like? And so we're really excited for this. We've got a few people already signed up to be part of this journey with us. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be ridiculous. We did shoot a pilot. Jack shot a pilot with us, and we did that at Alliance in our Prairie Grove facility where we do production welding, and that is our laser development center. So we build and sell laser welding and engraving machines out of that location, all American-made products, which is important to us, right? American made matters as far as we're concerned. And when you're buying things from Alliance, there's a reason for it, right? When you buy things from Alliance, we want to give back. We want to give back to the organizations that matter to us. We want to give back to the things that matter to us. And one of those is children. We believe that God's children are not for sale, but I'll tell you what, American laser welding machines are. And American laser engraving machines are. And so every machine that we sell, that we build, every ID1 or ID1FW or UR or Advantage laser engraver or whatever that looks like, if we sell a laser welding or laser engraving machine to you, a portion of that sale is going to go directly to the Tim Tebow Foundation to help end human trafficking. It's our part in trying to do something to make the world a better place and to keep our kids safer, which is really what we should all be looking for, right? That's our goal. That's our goal as parents. That's our goal as humans. And so that's what we're trying to do with that. And so if you like that, if you like our show, if you like who we are, if you've watched this before, we would love it for you to like it and subscribe to it and hit the notifications and do all that fun stuff so that you never miss an episode of the Manufacturing Alliance and make manufacturing fun again that we were going to be coming out with shortly. So I'm just asking you to do all those things because you like us. This is a live show. We like to do these things live so that we can have conversations with you, the listener, the watcher, the person that's part of this, right? It's the Manufacturing Alliance. It's not a solo thing. It's all of us coming together for the good of the industry, to help each other, to grow with each other, to share knowledge and be part of something bigger than ourselves. So if you have questions, if you have thoughts, if you're just watching at home or at work on your lunch break and you want us to give you a shout out and say hello, please just throw your name and your company in the chat, and we'll be happy to give you some recognition. James Kamansky already weighed in, and he said, manufacturing's challenges require innovative solutions from multiple angles. I'm sure we're going to talk more about that. Our good friend Scott Peters says he's glad that we're back. Scotty, I love you. We're going to have you on the show again soon. It was good to talk to him earlier today. So if you're listening with us, go ahead, let us know that you're there, put it in the chat, and let's carry on a bigger conversation. Let us know what you want to hear about. We have our own thoughts on what that's going to look like today, but we want to know what you think. Where do you sit on the conversations that we're having today? What are your concerns when it comes to manufacturing in this crazy global climate and landscape that we're looking at? Do you think things are going to change in 14 days? Do you think they're going to stay the same? What are your thoughts, you, the listener, the person that's paying attention with us? I'm really excited because today's guest is someone that, like, we've gone back and forth trying to schedule days and times, and it just never seemed to work out. And then I threw something out on LinkedIn yesterday saying, hey, is anybody available? And Jim said, I'm here. Jim, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, Tony. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know why it took us so long. I think there were just different hurdles along the way, but in God's timing, it all came together, and here we are.
Exactly. Yep. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm glad you were able to step in on short notice. Before we get into all the nuts and bolts and all the stuff we wanted to discuss, do me a favor, tell people a little bit about who you are and why they want to listen today.
Yeah. Well, so, I'm a small town guy, grew up in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan in Ironwood. I went to college in Memphis, Tennessee. So I got into a city and saw what that was all about. Mechanical engineer by degree, and then went into manufacturing. And I've been in manufacturing my whole career. So more than 3 decades. Not going to tell you exactly how many years, but yeah, gotten to see so many cool things myself. But then 6 years ago, I had the opportunity to start writing about manufacturing for Forbes and delving into all aspects of what people are making out there. And then started up my own web show and podcast, Manufacturing Talks, 3 years ago, and just trying to go whole hog on all of that, learning for myself and conveying it to everyone else.
So tell me about what you're doing with Forbes, because that seems really interesting to me.
Yeah, I write in the manufacturing space there. It's really telling stories, number one, of interesting companies that either are doing really cool and breakthrough things or have some kind of, outstanding business model, or just have a really good story.
Sure.
And then also just telling kind of trends on what's going on in the manufacturing world, especially economically, obviously for the business audience at Forbes.
That's exciting. I mean, it seems like something that more and more people need to hear about.
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking offline a little bit about, the need for more people to understand manufacturing and all the hurdles that go along with it. What do you think some of the limits are for U.S. manufacturing?
Well, to me, the number one limit is we're overregulated, and it makes us uncompetitive on the global stage. And unfortunately, that's kind of started this snowball of now it's been so long. I mean, that really started back in the early 70s, and it's just picked up a head of steam with pretty much every administration since. And instead of tackling the root cause now, we've got everyone lobbying for special breaks and tariffs and protectionism, and it's only going to make matters worse. If we make ourselves more and more uncompetitive, our American market can only support so many companies. It's a global business environment, and we're not going to win.
When you say we're not going to win, is that just because we don't have the manpower right now? We don't have the structure. There's just, like, what does that look like to you?
Obviously there's the workforce challenge right now, and that's real. The baby boomers are retiring, biggest generation we've had ever, and
Yeah.
we're not gonna have the numbers to replace them. At the same time, a lot of things have been automated since the 1960s and are continuing to be automated. I don't think it's a people problem over the long haul. I think it's how do we strike that balance between protecting things like worker safety and the environment without just throttling our manufacturers and making
Mm.
them unable to compete on the world stage.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Years ago, pre-COVID, years ago, I was talking to a friend of mine who he works in Washington, and he was asking me questions, and he said, if the US had to, if it came to it, do you think that the US could disassociate itself from China and the rest of the world if it came down to like war and being able to build the things and do the things and manufacture all the things that we need to manufacture in that kind of a global climate? And I guess realistically, the answer is I don't know. I mean, between the manpower and everything is made with microchips that we don't have any of,
Mhm.
and
Right?
you have shortages in cars, and you have all these things. There are some major concerns, right?
Oh, yeah.
With what that might look like,
Yeah, and my answer would be, in the very short term, not a chance for those
right?
very reasons. I mean, there's no way we're gonna get a chip fab up and running next week.
No,
Same with mining, going right to the materials we need to make everything. Our mines, metal mines, we've got less than a third as many today as we had in 1983. I just looked that up
right?
today. And so, in the long haul, can we? I mean, I'd never bet against America. Look what happened in World War II.
Amen, brother.
But at the same time, boy, if we don't get ourselves back into a better place, then making that transition from the short term to the long term, that could be an insurmountable hurdle.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think it's one of those things that we need to be cautious of and
Yeah,
be aware of, that these are real things that might be coming into the need, right?
yeah.
Um, Scott is asking, he says, how do we attract the replacements for the retiring baby boomers? What does that look like?
You're
That's
doing
a
it, right?
billion-dollar question, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the whole thing. Like if we can figure that out, we're in good shape.
Yep. Yeah, there's so much there. I mean, you know, there's a few other things we're, um, fighting against and trying to build back from. I mean, we talk about the baby boomers, that's the sheer numbers game. But then there's also the fact that the baby boomers were the last generation to have skilled trades and
Sure.
manufacturing jobs held out as a big plus. And so now we've got a couple generations down the road, we don't have kids who've been through shop classes. We don't have kids who did, you know, working on their cars or their houses with their dads at home. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, there's a definite skills thing there that I know a lot of people have started or are continuing to work on and accelerating their work on. So that's a good thing. But the other thing too, and I love the video at the start of the show here about what you guys are up to show how cool manufacturing is. That has to happen too. I mean, we've been our own worst enemies by keeping people out of our plants, having all these big secrets that almost no one actually has, and not showing people, yeah, this is a great thing to do. Making stuff is fun and it's
Yeah.
rewarding. And oh, by the way, you're going to do really well at it.
And what the crazy thing is there, everything around us is made by somebody. Like there's
That's
not
right.
like we're not just picking up sticks and burning the tip to write with. Like
Right.
everything, pens, forks, straws, iPhone cases, all of it
Yeah. Look
has to
around.
come from somewhere.
Yep.
Somebody is making all those things, and nobody ever thinks about it. And when they see what
No.
actually goes into it, their eyes open up. It's this amazing aha moment. Um, even building the equipment that builds the equipment that makes the things, like all of
Yep.
that stuff has to be made somewhere. And I think what people forget is you are changing lives, you are making a difference, even if it
Right.
is with, making plastic hoses. I tell the
Mhm.
story all the time. There's a gentleman that works for us. His wife had a stroke, and she was in the hospital, and he was with her at the hospital, and they were sitting there in the room, and the doctor came in, and they're taking her blood, they're doing all the stuff, and he's looking around the room because he's a little bit bored, probably a little antsy, and he notices that the machine that she's hooked up to is the same machine that we were fixing the mold on that made the parts that did the stuff. And so in that moment, he had this
Oh,
aha
man.
moment that, like, it's not just a piece of plastic, right? It's a piece of
Right.
plastic that is saving people's lives. It's making an
Yep.
actual difference for the people around us.
Yep.
I think COVID was a perfect example of that. All the
Mhm.
things that, like, COVID was horrible. We all agree.
Yep.
But all the things, the way that manufacturing, and US manufacturing in particular, had to step up in that moment to say, okay, we didn't even know this was going to be a problem. Now that we
Mhm.
know that there's a problem, we have to assess the problem. We have to figure out a solution. Then we have to design a solution. Then we have to build a solution. Then we have to source a solution. Then we have to produce it, and we got to get it out to people.
Right.
It was
Yep.
such a good, uh, just a good snapshot of what actually happens on a regular basis
Right.
and this in a crisis moment, right?
Yep. Yeah, and think about the things that got difficult to buy during that time,
Toilet paper.
toilet paper and facial tissue and hand sanitizer, all these things that got tight for a few weeks or a month and
Yep.
then started coming back. And that just shows, no one thinks about how that happened, right? How did
Right.
all those shortages go away? Well, it's because of what you just talked about and how well the people responded to that need and got the supply chains going and the stocks built back up.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have to ask, does that seem like a popular topic in Forbes? Are people looking to manufacturing and seeing, like, what's actually happening? What's being made? What does that look like? I'm sure you get data and metrics on who's reading what and what articles are
Yep.
more popular or not. What does that look like for Forbes?
So I'm going to preface my answer with Forbes went to a paywall a few years ago,
Okay.
and that really skewed things. And up till that point, I saw my readership numbers increasing substantially
Mm,
month on month. And it got to a point where I didn't put an article out with it not getting at least 10,000 reads. And,
wow.
manufacturing is a pretty niche spot on
Yeah.
the Forbes site. So that's a pretty big deal. Um, I would say now, based on what I'm seeing, is kind of the run of the mill stories aren't getting the attention, but you throw something out there that really highlights either something happening really good or something that's really scary, and
Mm,
it'll take off like mad. I had an article about how Germany is kind of the canary in the coal mine on deindustrialization based on energy policy.
okay.
Um, my biggest article ever. It's close to 160,000 views.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And so people get it. And, there were certainly some people who commented that, well, it's just what we have to do. Don't necessarily agree with that, but most of the comments were people understand that there's a balance to be struck there. And yes, we want to make our environment better and we want to make sure that we're dealing with difficult situations, but not at the cost of economic suicide.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think I was just sorry. I was just at the Plastics Association conference
Yep.
last week, and had a lot of conversations with people about sustainability and the
Hmm.
importance of sustainability and what that looks like. Um, and everybody agrees. I don't think there's anybody on the planet, if you polled them, that would say no, sustainability is bad. It's a horrible thing. We shouldn't do it. Uh, I think it's 100% agreement. The idea, the thing is, how do we get there? And
Right.
part of the problem for me is that I don't think people totally understand it. I think they hear this buzzword
No.
of sustainability and they go, yes, do that.
I took to challenging people who are on the extreme of, in particular, the CO2 emissions discussion. I'd see people saying, well, we just need to stop producing um, fossil fuels immediately. And so I would just throw out, okay, stop using them. Stop
Yeah.
using anything that uses fossil fuels or is based on fossil fuels. Start that
Right.
tomorrow. No one's ever taken me up on it. And thank God, because they'd be dead within a few weeks. 'Cause I
Of
mean,
course.
that's not an exaggeration. They would be.
No.
Everything we eat, everything we drink is brought to us by fossil fuels. Everything we use is made with fossil fuels, and usually incorporates something itself that comes from fossil fuels. Every piece of plastic you see looking around, that comes from oil.
Right.
And it's beyond belief that people can say such nonsense and actually be treated as though they're serious.
And that was like the conversation we kept having, right? Is people saying, Scott's, chiming in, and I'm going to echo off of this. Sustainability is great. People say that plastic is bad, right? You hear that all the time. Plastic is
Right.
bad. But in reality, plastic is good. How we manage plastic waste is bad.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's totally true. I keep going back and I'll talk to people and say, I remember I'm not that old. I'm 47. I'm not young, but I'm not that old. But I remember doing like Cub Scout drives, right? Or cyclability drives, where we go and collect newspapers or cans or whatever that looks like, right? Because we were trying to save the paper, right? That was the idea. We don't want to cut down any more trees. We want to save the paper. And so you would go to the grocery store and they would say, is a plastic bag okay? Because we want to save the trees. And I applaud it. That's great, right? Like save the trees. But now you go to the store and they say, is paper okay? Because plastic is horrible.
Right.
And it's just this switch of identity and thought of which one is worse than the other one.
Yep.
You hear stories all the time about like the reusable shopping bags that are actually worse for the environment than the skimpy little plastic bags because of all the glue that has to go into it, the manufacturing process that has to go into it, the emissions that go into it, like all the things that have to happen, unless you're like growing your own straw and building a bag and doing all those things. There's so many things that people don't take into consideration. Just, oh, that bag is bad.
Yep.
And I think it causes a rift.
It all goes back to exactly what you said a few minutes ago, though. People not understanding how things are made and where they come from. And so it's easy to work from that ignorance.
Yeah. And like I said, we had multiple of these conversations on, the idea of sustainability and to a person.
Well, the other thing I'll point out is manufacturers have been doing sustainability long before that word ever gained currency. I mean, manufacturing is all about eliminating waste.
Correct.
And so that's what I keep pointing out to people is doing sustainability isn't doing anything new. If you're cutting your water use, if you're cutting, say, upgrading to more efficient boilers, whatever, there's manufacturers who are doing all those things constantly. And what I love, I don't know if you're familiar with a guy named Victor Maka, the Beauty of Steel Project. But
I am not.
So you should look him up. I mean, this guy's dedicated his life to documenting in photographs the world steel industry.
Okay.
And that alone is just an amazing project. But then I love what he says, and that is, we've got to stop apologizing. Everyone keeps saying, well, we've got to shut down all our blast furnaces and go to green steel. Maybe so. Again, maybe that happens over time, but can't shut your blast furnaces down and not have new steel being made right now. Correct. And in the meantime, steel is what built civilization. And so stop apologizing, point that out, keep working toward that long-term future. But in the meantime, also keep making steel because we have this standard of living to keep up.
Yeah. I mean, go to Greece, look at the Acropolis or any of the ancient ruins. They're ruins. They're not buildings. They have fallen down. Stone collapses. It doesn't last forever. I agree with what you're saying that, businesses have been doing this. Manufacturing has been doing this. They've been trying to figure this out for a very long time. And I think people want to be part of it too, right? You think I before I had these conversations with people, I used to think I'm doing my part. I got my big garbage can and I got my little garbage can, and my little garbage can has my paper and my plastic and all my plastic stuff and everything that I think is recyclable. And then the other one is just like the waste. And you come to find out that that's not the way that works. It's a false sense of doing something when you look at it that way, because, there's times where both of those garbage cans go to the same landfill because the plastic and all the things in there are not being treated the way that they're supposed to be treated in order to be recycled. And so it's just like you throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Right. Yep. Yeah. And there's a lot of education to be done. I mean, I just read an article today. Everyone needs to read this article about what's happening with the inflation, I'm going to do air quotes, Inflation Reduction Act, which is just larding I mean, I have a problem with it larding manufacturers with printed dollars. You
Sure.
know, there's too many people in manufacturing cheering that. But then I just find out today there are literally billions of dollars going to these nonprofits that are really just the politically well connected. And
Ah,
so all your tax dollars that you think, you're cheering, oh, inflation reduction. No, they're going to pay off people who have the connections. It's sick. And so, yeah, I would encourage people to go beyond the headlines, do your own research, look at what it really takes to make stuff and where we stand, competitively against our international other um, folks out there, the Chinese and the Mexican. Now Mexico's looking like they're going to ramp up hugely because of
yep,
environmental considerations in America. That's just nuts. And
yep.
I keep saying, with regulations as they stand today, this isn't adding anything more. The regulations with the EPA power rules that came out and all the moving us toward EVs and all that, they will drive most of the rest of American manufacturing offshore in the next 10 to
Mhm.
20 years if they're not changed.
And I think what's kind of silly about that is like you look at the it's a global thing, right? It's not a US thing. It's not like, when
No,
people when
definitely
people
not.
talk about global warming or climate change or whatever you want to call it, I personally am of the opinion that maybe the Earth just hasn't gotten to the temperature it's supposed to be. Like God hasn't told us when we get to this is where it's supposed to be. Maybe He's still raising the temperature little by little. I don't know. I'm not God. I don't get to be God. I don't want to be God. Um, but there's so many people hyper focused on what's happening on US manufacturing, and
Correct.
we actually do a pretty darn good job about it.
Yep.
The issue becomes the rest of the world, right? The global part of it is the thing that
Yep.
we can't control.
Yep.
And as we're offshoring things and getting things built in different areas, um, that continues to grow because, like you said before, we have the regulations, we have things
Mhm.
in place to try and make us better. At some point, you got to have a break in that, though. You can't just keep beating it to death.
Yeah.
One of the challenges I talk about is, you have consumers. Consumers want, right? Like we all want. We said that we all want sustainability. We all want
Yep.
recyclable products. It makes sense. But here's my question: are you willing to put your wallet where your mouth is?
Right.
Because if you're not, then it doesn't make any difference. You can't
Right.
sit there as a consumer and say, we need better wages, we need better healthcare, we need all this free, we need recycled products. But listen, for me, I want this tomorrow and I'm going to buy it from Amazon.
Right. Yep.
You just lost. Like you lost the whole argument. You can't have all the things. Like
Yeah. Well,
it,
and the other piece of that is people seem to think that if it's not being done here, it's not being done. So we regulate, say, our
right,
steel business almost out of existence. Well, there's more steel being made than ever before. Actually, a little off now, but for the most part. But it's just not being made here. It's being made in much dirtier places without those regulations. Same with mining. That's the point I made on a LinkedIn post today. Big, huge new discovery of lithium here in America, but we're not going to mine it because the
right,
environmentalists have basically made mining a non-starter here. It's going to
right,
be mined somewhere because we're still going to use the lithium. It's just going to be mined somewhere that's a lot dirtier and a lot more unsafe for the workers.
right.
And yeah, obviously not benefiting Americans except by keeping everything cheap.
But it's really easy for us to do this, right?
Yeah,
Like
for
I don't
sure.
see it, I don't smell it, I don't hear
Yep.
about it, I don't care. It's fine. It's fine. Not in my backyard. Isn't that what they always say? Just not in my backyard.
Right.
It's fine. I don't care. I don't know those workers. I don't have to deal with it. I don't have to see it. It's not
Yep.
here. And in the meantime, we're losing workers, we're losing jobs,
Mhm.
we're losing opportunity. We have factories closing. We've
Yeah,
got,
losing whole
you know,
industries. We've got
yeah,
3% of our apparel that we wear in America today. 3% is made in America.
wow.
Yep.
And unfortunately, it's more expensive. So people don't, or you don't even know how to to find it in America.
No, that's right. Actually, one of the biggest problems with the people who want to reshore apparel making is we don't have the skills anymore.
Mm. I think
Another
that's
one of those short-term problems, right? We can get the skills back, it just takes time.
right, right. And I think reshoring is a big topic as
Yep.
well, and trying to grow that. I mean, we've got some younger people in our company now. People that just came out of high school last year, and they're starting to learn some stuff. But going back to all those things we were talking about, like
Mhm.
to have the technical expertise and be able to grow your companies is really difficult with people retiring and not having that workflow yet. Um,
Right.
are you seeing more of an emphasis on reshoring?
Yeah, actually, I had a guy on my show, Harry Mosers with the Reshoring Initiative,
Okay.
and he's got the numbers showing it's happening, it's real.
Yeah.
COVID was certainly a big wake-up call just
Oh,
from
well,
that supply chain problem of having supply chains that stretch halfway around the world,
yep.
this whole just-in-time thing that it's just gonna work perfectly all the time, every time until it
Yep.
doesn't, and that's what we discovered in COVID is when those break down, boy, oh boy, do you have problems. Yeah.
That's
Bikes were
why
a good example. There were no bikes to be had anywhere in the whole country because they come from Taiwan.
it was
Um,
any one of those, uh, activity things was gone,
yeah,
right? Like tents,
yeah,
bikes, camping apparel, all that stuff was just poof, gone.
yep, and you aren't gonna ramp that kind of stuff up in the numbers we need in a few weeks or a few months, and so we just suffered without it.
Yeah.
But yeah, there have been some big moves to bring stuff back, and it's happening. Again, I worry about the long-term viability of that just because of we're still facing a regulatory tsunami from the current administration that hasn't even really hit us yet.
Mm,
The cost of the regulations that this administration has promulgated, it's like 4 times what any administration ever has done before.
wow. Wow. Well, we can hope, we can pray that we don't have that much longer with it, but you
Well,
don't know, right?
regardless, either way, we've got to get a lot more vocal,
Sure.
the National Association of Manufacturers has some good stuff out
Yep.
there on it, but then I keep waiting for that to become like a big issue for them, and it's not. It's not what they're
Mm,
talking about. They got great stuff out there, and they bang the drum in certain parts of their website, for example, that this is a big problem, but I don't hear them talking about it. And we're
sure.
just gonna have to get way more vocal and way more, into the education for people about what that means.
Right. It's a difficult thing, I think, just in general, because there's so many divisive topics right now in our
Yeah.
world.
Yep.
Um, and this is just another one. And unfortunately, this is one of those that people don't totally understand.
Right.
Uh, and if you're working in, you're a teacher or you're an IT or like fill in the gap of where you might be, this doesn't even come close to the radar of the things that you're concerned about in
Nope.
life. Um, and I keep like banging my own drum whenever I can, whether it's, when we're at the Plastics Association, or we go to AMBA event, or we go to a TMA event. And I keep
Yep.
trying to tell people, like, what we need to do is we need to make manufacturing sexy again. Like,
Right.
not just make it fun again, but it
Yep.
needs to be a sexy thing where people want to be involved in that industry. And
Yep.
I use the example of like Orange County choppers, right? Like nobody cared.
Right.
Nobody wanted a chopper. Nobody wanted a custom made chopper. Like it wasn't even again on anybody's radar. Like,
Mhm.
what is this ridiculous looking motorcycle? That's what you might think on a regular day, right? That
Mhm.
but then you make it sexy. You make it a show. You make it
Yep.
have some spice. You give it some oomph, right? And then all of
Yep.
a sudden it's a booming industry. Now you have
Yep.
not just one show, but you got 4 shows. You got Jesse James, you got this guy, you got that guy, you got this thing, you got
Right.
all this
Right.
stuff comes out of the woodworks because now it's a viable thing. Now it's something that people understand and they want to be part of. And what does that look like? And so how do we get the NAMS and the Illinois Manufacturing Association
Mhm.
and all the associations that every state has to fight back against the machine and the monster and go, hey, if we all put some resources together, we can start doing some Super Bowl ads. We could
For
start
sure.
doing
Yeah.
we could do a show. We can do a thing that shows people what we are actually about, what this country was built on, and how we get back to that, and make it a whole thing that people want to be a part of.
Yep. Yeah, well, and that's why I love so much about what you had on your opening video about you guys getting out there. You're actually gonna do the job. That's really cool.
We're
I'll
gonna
I'll be
try.
I'll be rooting for you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I actually just announced on my show, Manufacturing Talks, I'm starting a series within that show of going to people's manufacturing operations and filming them, just like the old How It's Made
Yeah,
shows.
I love
I'm
it.
not gonna be doing the job like you are. I'm just gonna go show other people making stuff just to show that it is cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Uh,
anyone out there who has a manufacturing plant, you want me to come video, let me know.
See,
I'll be there.
that's what this is about. This is about people connecting with people and helping to make a
Yep.
difference and tell the stories over and over and over and over again. We were just talking about reshoring, and again, as horrible as COVID opened a lot of eyes to
Yeah.
problems and actually solutions. And
Yep.
we had an amazing sales year during COVID. I can't say that it was the worst year. I can't say it was the best year, but it did turn a page for us in a way that was good. Uh, and what it did was it reshored so much stuff because the
Mm,
supply chain and the demand was so hard.
yep.
Um, and guess what? Everybody dealt with it, and it wasn't a big deal. And I kept saying, listen, we have short term memory in this country, and
Mhm.
greed overwhelms us. And so this is a short term window of opportunity for us to take advantage of this and prove that we can actually do these things here at home. Because
Yeah.
what's going to happen is we're going to have people that go, hey, I know how we could save a little bit of money.
Mhm.
Remember 5 years ago when we were almost getting the same product and we were paying less? Do you remember that? Let's do that again.
Right. Yep.
And then slowly that's what started happening. And we were at an AMBA conference, and they were talking about how we have all these mold builders that are closing because
Yeah.
they're not sharing work with each other, and there's just not enough work, and there's not enough work. And Troy Nix was talking about this, and I thought to myself, well, is that really why? Is it really because we're not sharing work, or is it because it's not here?
Yeah.
Like those are two different questions. And I know that there's a
True.
lot of mold builders who don't have a choice. There's a lot of companies that don't have a choice because they're the people that they're building the molds for. The molders are saying, "Listen, we need you to get multiple quotes. We need an offshore quote.
Mhm.
We need a Chinese quote. We need a Mexico quote." And so you're putting the burden then on the mold maker to say, "Well, I'm just not going to quote it," and then they lose out on any potential of having the work to feed their families and feed their
Yeah.
workers and feed all their stuff. And so it's just that I think for me, I think it boils down to greed.
Yeah. There's definitely that element for sure. What I like to focus on though is what is it that's making it where we can't compete with
Mhm.
the folks in China, with the folks in Mexico.
Sure. And for that, what do you see? I mean, what's that answer? If somebody were to ask you,
Like
what do we need to do tomorrow? Is it the regulations?
radical deregulation. Yep.
Mm,
It's tough though. The problem with regulations is the people who ostensibly benefit from them. And that can be, the people living next to the plant, or it can just be some environmental group that has that as their focus.
sure.
They're very, they're a small group with a intense focus on that particular thing. And the people who are harmed by the regulation are a broad group who don't really see it as this huge problem. It's this
Mm,
kind of incremental, death by a thousand cuts. And so getting that oomph behind a political move to deregulate things is just it's beastly difficult.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, let me ask you this. How do we fight? What do we do as normal everyday workers, business owners, people going to work every day, buying products with a voice? How do we have a voice, and what is our role, our responsibility? How do we enact change in what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's definitely a multi-pronged and difficult question. The things I would say for, especially most of us are, small and medium-sized businesses. That's what, like
Yeah.
85% of manufacturers. Um, Number one is I do love Victor Macha's formulation. Stop apologizing. What
Yeah.
you do is vital. How you do it today, it might be a little bit dirty, but it's also how you have to do it to be competitive. Yes, you're going to improve over time, but should you apologize because it's a little dirty or you have to deal with safety issues? No,
Right.
that's manufacturing. That's part of the game. Um, Look to get better, but be proud of what you're doing now because it's
I love that.
critical. Engage with youth. One of my favorite stories of a company that did this right is Aaron's, the
Mm.
snowblower and lawnmower folks up there in Brillion, Wisconsin. 25 years ago, Dan Aarons, the CEO, saw the handwriting on the wall with the workforce, a man ahead of his time for sure. He connected with the local high school and made sure that their shop classes stayed around, that he
Mm.
was helping with their STEM curriculum. And then as that got established, he pushed it even further. Go to the middle school and then go to the grade school and then go to the kindergarten where they literally today in Brillion, Wisconsin, I don't know how big it is, but it's not big, have a K to 12 complete STEM program, start to
Wow.
finish. And it's not just there to provide workers to errands. It
Sure.
does, and that's
Sure.
a benefit, but it's also there because Dan saw that there was this need, not just for his company, but for his community,
Mhm.
and helped build what they have today. And I applaud the heck out of him for his foresight and for his dedication and for his willingness to put his company out there. And yeah, there was a benefit, but it went beyond that benefit. So he's also doing stuff that goes beyond his little, realm of what he gets to make, what he gets to earn. And it's for the good of the community. And it's just a phenomenal story.
Yeah,
And I
no,
think everyone needs to be engaged in some degree in that work.
absolutely. Absolutely. We all, I mean, to your point about like, don't be apologetic about what you're doing.
Right.
I
Yep.
think
Stop
it's
apologizing and let people see what you're doing.
yeah, I think it's imperative that everybody in manufacturing tell their story about what that looks
Yeah.
like. You know,
Yep.
nobody is going to toot your own horn. Nobody's going to toot your horn. You got to start shouting it from the rooftops about what we're doing and what that looks like. And
Right.
that's why I love LinkedIn and all of
Yeah.
those socials.
Yep.
Right? I think it would be great to flood that with actual images and stories about what we're doing and why it's important and how we're doing it and the impacts it makes in people's lives. And um, people connect to stories all the time.
Yeah.
And I think that's why what you do is so great. And, that's why when we do these shows, we don't try to talk about, statistics and numbers and metrics. We want to talk
Yep.
about the stories and what's
Yeah.
actually the reality of happening in each other's lives in the world and how do we succeed? How do we fail? How do we struggle? What does that look like together for exactly what you're talking about? I was
Right.
talking with Hannah Belmont from Westminster Tool. And she was talking about how she needed to get back from the plastics conference because they were going to host, I think, 100 grade school kids that
Oh,
next day.
excellent. Yep.
Um, and it seems like every month they're bringing grade school kids in or middle school kids in and showing them what this actually is and what it looks like. I
Yep.
remember
Here we
stories
go.
of Wepco Tool there in Connecticut also, where they had they made like a little phone holder, like a little plastic phone holder,
Yep.
and they showed the kids what went into that and how it happened, and then they started asking them, "How would you make this better?" Like you've
Oh,
all seen
cool.
phones. How do you make this better? And then they started taking polls from the kids and then telling them how this would happen and what it would take and how it works and
Yep.
I think those are the things that kids need to start understanding.
Yep.
You have kids in the high school, and my daughter, she makes me laugh because she says, I'm learning the math. I'm learning, we use math as an example, and math is important. But she's like, this has nothing to do with anything that I want to do.
Yeah.
There are certain people that are going to be math specialists, right? But to be able to tell these stories and be able to like have kids learn how to do things and how things are made, I think are invaluable things. How are things made and how do you deal with people? Like those
Mhm.
are two things that need to be really figured out. How do you have emotional intelligence and how do you have world intelligence? What does that look
Yep.
like for our next generation? How do you not pass a test but problem solve to get a solution? Like those are bigger questions to me.
For sure. Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Well, you're very agreeable. I like this. This is fun.
Well, we're coming from kind of the same place, so it's understandable.
Yeah, and, I guess the good news that I would say is I feel like I'm seeing an upward trend. I mean, we talked about that before, that you can have all of the experts come in and tell you that, oh, you should expect this and this is what's going to happen, but nobody's crystal ball works and you don't know what the
Mhm.
next catastrophe is going to be or what that looks
Right.
like. But from what I'm seeing a generation of people that are interested in building and coming up with
Yep.
solutions. And I'm seeing a generation of kids. Sometimes it's hard as a parent who don't want to just take the answer; they want to know why,
Yeah.
and they want to be. They want to find solutions that are different. They want to think outside the box a little bit, and I think that's a
Yep.
good thing. I mean, uh,
Absolutely.
you, my
Well,
my. Go ahead.
and you're hearing about STEM all the time now. That
Mhm.
wasn't even a real topic of conversation a decade ago.
Right.
Um, the discussion about skilled trades and about shop classes is now gaining head of steam. So there are a lot of positives out there, and positives that are getting to our young people, and getting that oomph from the next generations that are going to be taken over.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the things that was great, Scott Peters is part of the SPE Technologies division. I was part of that group with him, and we started a series that we did for a little while. It lost a little bit of steam. Be great to see it come back. I don't know what that looks like. Scott's probably going to yell at me, which is fine. But we followed this young apprentice. She was in high school at the time. She was working at a company, CMD, I believe, and she was an apprentice. And so what we did is we started telling her story. What does that look like? How did she get the job? Why was it interesting to her? What were her hobbies?
Mhm.
And then we followed her into work and telling the story of her journey from being a high school student who's a farmer and had a little bit of a passion for machining and building things, to entering her career, why she chose that career, why it appealed to her, how she was actually building things, what that looks like. And the original idea was that it was a multiple season thing, right? Where you can
Mhm.
have a few kids that you follow on this journey, and then you follow them into their work life, and then you have the next group of kids, and it's the next season that continues to grow. And but it's like anything else. It takes money, it takes resources, it takes all that
Yep.
stuff to be able to tell those stories in real ways that people are going to connect with and want to watch.
Right. Yeah, love it. You should
Yeah.
definitely get back to that.
There's so many things. If I
Oh, I
I keep
know.
I keep saying I would be a really, really, really good rich person. Uh,
Right. Yes, you've got plenty of things to use the money for, right?
I would be generous. I would fund these projects. I think I would be a fantastic rich person. If anybody has any wealth that they want to just like get rid of, and it's no good for them. Like maybe Hurley from Lost, right? If you
Yeah.
won the lottery and you feel cursed by the money and you need to get rid of it, I'll take it, and I promise to do good
No need
things
to
with it.
make us. We'll put it to good use.
I won't use a penny of it for myself. I have enough for me. I'm not a greedy person, but if I
Yep.
had a ton of excess, I could think of a lot of things that could be useful, and ways that we could do things with that.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll see if that gets you anything.
Well, I'm not going to hold my breath.
Right.
We're just gonna keep doing what we're doing. And, you know, I think the encouraging thing is like, whether it's the Plastic Association, who I keep mentioning, like all these different organizations are looking for ways to do the same thing, to
Yeah.
grow the industry and let people know what's happening. Everybody sees what it is. I think it may become a thing where it just takes unifying all those organizations or some of those organizations saying, hey guys, let's play together. Let's play in the sandbox. Like, you have your funds,
Yeah.
I have my funds. You need workers, I need workers. But what we really need to do is grow the manufacturing industry as a whole, not just
Yep.
plastics, not just metalworking, not just, finishing machinery, whatever. Like, we need to grow all of it so that we can all be successful. And then we'll find this pocket here and this pocket here.
Mhm.
But let's tell the story of what manufacturing can be, and then let people figure out those niches along the way.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that
Any-
idea.
If
So,
anybody wants to listen to me, I'm happy to talk about it more. But
yeah, we need suggestions on how we pull all those groups together.
yeah, yeah, I think we'll get there. I do. I really do. I think we'll get there. I think it just takes some time and people kind of getting out of their own way a little bit.
Yep.
But you want to play 5 questions with us? You want to have some fun?
Sure thing.
All right, Jack. You wanna lead 5 questions today?
Sure, I can read 5 questions.
All right.
Why
He's
not?
back. Jack is back.
Hello.
Hey, Jack.
All right. So, question 1. If you could make one rule that everyone had to follow, what would that rule be?
Everyone has to go out and do a job before they do anything else in their career where it's actually working and doing.
So anybody has to go out and
Of
say that
living
one
in the
more
real
time.
world.
Did you get all that, Jack? Are we frozen? What happened now?
You there?
I'm
Nope,
here.
we lost Jack.
We lost Jack. We'll see if it comes back.
All right.
Jack, are you coming back, or am I taking over here? Oh, he stopped working. All right. His
Like you're
computer
taking
went out.
over, Tony.
I'm taking over. All right, here we go. Question number 2. If you could have dinner with any 3 characters from a book, movie, or show, who would they be?
Wowee. All right, it's going to have to be Oddball from Kelly's Heroes.
Okay.
Let's see. Dagny Taggart from Atlas Shrugged. And holy cow. Can't come up with a third one.
I think with those 2.
It's going to be Lane Meyer from Better Off Dead.
Nice. Oh, man. Meyer. Whee! That is such a great underrated cult movie.
Is it not? Yep.
Oh man, we watched that. I introduced the kids to that movie a little while ago, and it's just so ridiculous but amazing.
Yep.
Pair that with One Crazy Summer and you're in a good spot.
All right. Yeah, we'll have to do that.
All right, that's a good grouping. Question number 3. What are you most proud of that you never have a chance to talk about?
I think it's that my 2 sons, they're 19 and 16, we basically don't have to discipline them. We must have done enough right much earlier where at this age, it's not that they don't screw things up. We all do, right? But
Right.
but they're not doing stuff where it's like there's any kind of big problem.
Yeah.
Pretty good
I think
place
that-
to be.
I think that's a great one. That's a fantastic answer. And I think I would echo that sentiment. I feel very blessed to have the children that I
Yeah.
have, and Jack would even tell you if he didn't disappear that a lot of it is not due to me.
Well,
and
right. Yeah.
that's a fact.
Yep.
But there's a lot of times where I talk to Jack, and I'll tell him, this is my son who I love and whom I'm well pleased. It's like my favorite Bible verse to say to him,
That's
because it's just
awesome.
true.
Yep.
Um, it doesn't ring as well with my daughter because she's not my son, but I'm equally as proud of everything that she's doing, and the person that she's become, and it's really awesome. So I love
Yeah.
that answer.
Thank you.
Question number 4 is a little bit different. If you could have any animal sidekick, what would it be and why?
Um, Perry the platypus.
Not just a platypus, Perry the platypus. I love it.
I don't know how many of your viewers ever watched that, but yeah.
I would say any of them that have kids the same age as
Well,
ours
that's true. That's true.
probably should have seen it. Perry is a real hero.
Yep. Exactly.
And green. I don't know why they made him a green platypus, but hey, he's infected with something. I love it. All right, last question. How long would you last in the Hunger Games?
Well, I mean, I wasn't a scout myself, but I was a scoutmaster, so I got that going for me.
Okay.
But probably just a few days at best. Let's be realistic.
Now, I would give you a little bit more credit because I feel like you are a very likable guy. I feel like you can make a couple friends,
Yeah.
find some ways to survive, and avoid some major conflicts. I mean, I think there would definitely be people they wanted to kill first.
Yeah, that's true.
I
I
think
would
with
try not to be one of those. Let's put it
that would be disappointing, wasn't it? I used to tell my wife
that way.
that
Yeah.
that I thought I could win The Biggest Loser. Like I thought, like I could, I could go on that show. I could gain weight. Like I could eat like a monster, and I could gain the weight. I could get on that show, and I think I could win because I find all those things, all those torturous workout activities, fun. Uh,
Yeah.
I I would love that. But with my luck, I'd get voted off like the first week, and then I would just
Right.
like go home a fat guy. And I don't.
You wouldn't get a chance to show your
Yeah.
ability. Yep.
Yeah, I would piss off the wrong person somehow, and they would just be like, "Nope, you're gonna go,"
Yep.
and that would be my downfall. So I never did it. It's a shocker. I never gained all the weight to go compete on The Biggest Loser. But
It's probably a good thing you didn't.
yeah, Jack and I were actually joking that we thought that we could win The Amazing Race. I think that would be fun
Oh,
to try,
wow.
but that would be a little bit exciting. But
Is that still around?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
It's kind of been hit and miss, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would guess they had to take a break for a little while with the world being crazy,
Yeah,
um,
that's true.
but it's a good show. I like that show.
It's
It's
an awesome show. Yeah, my
yeah,
wife and I watched like the first 10 seasons straight through.
yeah. And you wonder, like I love my wife. I don't think we would be a good fit for
Oh,
that show.
no, my
Um,
wife and I would well, maybe now we'd be better, but when we were watching it when we were younger, it would have been bad.
yeah, you know that as you're watching it and you're disagreeing with strategy, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
we shouldn't do this.
Yeah, it's not a good sign.
It's not what we should do. We should just watch. We should just watch the show
Yep,
together. That's what we should do.
exactly.
That's how we're going to participate in this show. So Jim, is there anything else that you think that we should touch on, talk about, or hit before I let you go? I know we're about an hour in. I mean, I'm happy to keep talking, but I'm sure you have things to do.
Well, I mean, I love that, you're doing what you're doing. Um, uh, anytime, anything I can do to help you out, let me know, and invite all your viewers to check my show out and connect
Yeah,
with me on
absolutely.
LinkedIn. Let's make those connections and do what we were talking about, come together and keep building this manufacturing juggernaut we need to get back on the
That
train tracks.
that sounds amazing to me. So before we go, we end every show with a prayer because I think it's important.
Wonderful.
So I would ask if there's anybody still listening, if you have any prayer requests, go ahead and put those in the chat, so that we know what we should be praying for. Jim, any prayer requests from you?
Can you beat the 23rd Psalm?
No. It's like it was written by somebody who knows.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Jack, any prayer requests from you, my son?
No. No, things are going pretty good. I mean, just the time trial tomorrow, and that goes pretty solid.
Yeah, he's got his first time trial tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
For positioning for the track season at Illinois Wesleyan.
Good luck, Jack.
Yeah. Thank you.
He told me I'm not allowed to ask how it goes. If it goes well, he'll tell me. If it doesn't go well, he won't talk to me, and then we'll talk about it later. I said, so I can't ask. He said, if you want to stay undelivered, you can ask. But if you don't hear from me, leave it alone.
I think that's pretty fair.
I appreciate that you set the tone and we had that conversation, because, that's the strength of communication, right? Of being able to say, Dad, this is what I'm going to need from you.
There you go.
Either way, this is what I'm going to need from you.
Yep.
So, but I will definitely be praying that it goes well. So, all right, I'm going to, I don't see anything else in the chat. I'm going to pray, and then I will let you go, and we will move on with some things. Oh, Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for this time with Jim and this conversation. Thank you that you made him passionate, and you made us passionate about what we're doing, and ways that we can brighten people's lives and bring them direction and hopefully some laughter and some information. Thank you for the technology that you put in place, and all the things that you do. We just ask that in this season of the unknown and the crazy and the worrisome, that you would be able to calm our anxieties, and that we could put our focus on you and remember that it doesn't matter who the president is if we know who the king is. And so as we have these next few days of people being hostile and crazy, and it bleeds over into whatever it might be, let us focus our eyes on you and who you are and how you can change our lives, and only you can change the world. And so we give this time to you. We hope that it glorifies you and all that we do. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, Jim, thank you, my friend. I appreciate that we finally got to do this.
For sure, yeah. I got to get you on my show, so we need to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll just schedule some dates. I would love to do that. I love talking manufacturing and the importance of what that looks like. But I appreciate your passion and your interest, and you reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm available. Let's do this," and making sure that it happens. So thank you for all that you do. I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to come on with you and see how this is on the other side. I don't get to do that very often, so it'll be fun.
Yeah, cool. I'll be in touch. Thank you.
Sounds good. Have a good one. Oh, that was Jim. If you want to get a hold of Jim, he is on LinkedIn. He has a website that you can go to. We're going to put all of that stuff in the show notes. Let's see. Is it here? I think Jack might have it here. Do we have it there, Jack? Or am I lost here?
What are you looking for?
Jim's contact information. Do we have that up there at all? No. Go to LinkedIn and just look for Jim. It is Jim Vinoski, Vinoski. You can search for him on LinkedIn, and really, he's all over the place on there. So definitely a good guy. I really loved the whole conversation that we were able to have today, and everything that looked like. It's good. We need to do these things. We need to be community together. We need to not try to live life in an isolated bubble and think it's just about us, but realize that there's so much more than just us, right? It's a bigger thing. It is an alliance that we need to be a part of. Jack just put up the contact information, and all of that will be in the description on YouTube. when we go ahead and launch the show. We are going to be bringing back the audio version on Apple, on Spotify, and all those things. We've got a backlog of shows that need to be uploaded. We apologize for not doing that yet. It is coming soon. We've just been crazy busy. So, man, I think that's enough for today. On behalf of myself and Jim and Alliance and Manufacturing Today and all the shows and all the things, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care and God bless.